And today is kind of an extension of a couple of classes. So it's about giving and receiving and the law of reciprocity. Okay. So this particular lesson is a deeper dive into a couple of other lessons that we have had. In other words, we've gone over the law of karma and what karma is, right? I think most of you were on that class. I'm not sure because some of you have joined in after, and I'm not sure. If you haven't, check out that recording or ask me for it and see if we have that. I know I'd love to meet you all in person. Of course, Raquel, you're like our long distance love that we have not met. So the law of karma, or you reap what you sow, which is the most common way to think about that, okay, is part of what this is, this law of reciprocity. In other words, tit for tat, right? Kind of you give, you receive. And I wanted to dive deeper into that because I wanted to give you some extra awareness as to how this works in your lives, because we have a tendency to interact with others in this flowing cycle of giving and receiving in a very unconscious way. And today, I want to invite you to do this, to give and receive in a much more conscious way. Okay, even for myself, as I was diving into this lesson, I started to really recognize things that came up for me in my life. And I was like, okay, what was the intention behind this gift pure? Okay. I know, see, you start going like, I'm not, so, and this is, I want you to consider this act of giving and receiving like a circle that is in continuous motion. Okay. Think of it as a chakra. Let's put it that way. An energetic circle that and how many things in our lives, how many things in nature are circular and cyclical? Everything is, right? If you think about it, when does the day of spring turn into summer? When does summer turn into fall? When does fall turn into winter, and so on, right? When does the morning become the evening? It's always a circle, right? So this motion that we are in constant state of is our life as well. Everything is flowing, right? So what would happen if the sun decided to just stop? It's like, forget it. I'm not moving. I'm done. I'm exhausted. Forget it, right? Does that ever happen? No, we always rely on nature's cyclical movements, right? So what happens when we stop that motion in our own lives with our energy? What happens when a person, and I've witnessed this, decides to stop, says, I'm done with this. It's over. They remove themselves from life, right? And we can't remove ourselves from life. If we remove ourselves from life, we stagnate and we die. And that could be literal, like in a physical sense, that we take our own lives, or that could be an emotional and spiritual sense in which we stop the flow, right? And we've talked about flow a lot, right? Getting into flow is something that we always are striving to do, being in flow, being in the zone, correct? So giving and receiving is exactly the same way. It's a cycle. It's a flowing cyclical current. Think of it as a current of energy that is moving, right? In fact, the word current, okay, comes from the Latin word to flow, corriente, right? In Spanish, we know it as la corriente, sigue la corriente, right? We say that a lot, get into the flow. So when we are in this cycle of reciprocity, which is giving and receiving, if we don't know how to give properly, and if we do not know how to receive properly, we cut our own flow. Okay? So once you get that into your brain and start thinking about what does that mean? What does flowing with reciprocity mean? Now you can start analyzing it a little deeper and say, okay, so what would I like to receive? Right? When you think about your desires in life, and we've written our desires many times, I'm sure, we're all very goal-oriented women. When we write our desires, do our desires come from a place of pure receiving and giving? And let me give you an example. Okay. So if we want to have more love in our life, what do we need to do? We need to give more love, right? We need to give more love. If we want to be understood, what do we need to do? We need to seek to understand. Correct? So I ask you to take a moment and think about all of you that are amazing women with incredible abundance in your lives. What is something that you would like to receive that you may believe you're lacking of? For me, and I wrote this down last time, and this is why this is an extension of last class, in abundance and prosperity, what I wanted to receive is time. I want time. And what I've realized is that for the last year and a half, almost 2 years, I have felt that my anxiety about time has considerably dropped. Like I used to be always in a state of like, oh my God, I'm running out of time. I don't have enough time to do this. I can't get to that. There's too many to-dos to do. I can't, and I used to feel that way, but I've recognized that as I wrote these things down for myself, I recognized that I don't feel that way so much anymore. I rarely feel that anxiety of there's not enough time. And I think making that statement of that 1 year that I promised myself that was going to be my vacation, right? That I gave myself, listen to the words, I gave myself the gift of time off. I spent the whole year taking bits of time off. When I did that act of giving to myself, I finally felt that I deserved it. I deserved it. And I just said, I'm going to take this time off. I think I've earned it, right? I recognized that when I did that act of giving, the world did not fall apart. Okay. Everything was still there when I got back to it, right? And it was like a big revelation of like, oh my God, I've got time, right? Then I also have realized that I give the gift of time, of my time to you every Sunday. And I've been doing this almost every Sunday. I do take a few days off. I've done this consistently for this amount of time, and the world didn't fall apart. Like I had enough time, right? I have enough time every week somehow to come up with a lesson, to research it. And I've given myself, guess what? I am an avid learner. I've always been an avid learner. I love to learn, right? I also love to teach. So isn't that giving and receiving, right? So as I teach you, I learn too. And this has been this beautiful cycle that I have been on that is in complete alignment with my purpose. And guess what? My life has become a joy because of it. So I invite you to think about, firstly, are you in alignment with your purpose? Because it is extremely important that you get to a place where you recognize what are your gifts and talents in service to others. Go down to the essence of who you are. What did God give you that no one else can do just like you? What is that gift? And write it down. For me, my gifts obviously are, the obvious one, of course, is my creativity as an interior designer, right? Okay, that is my obvious. It's been my go-to my entire life, right? But I can tell you that I have other gifts that I believe are just as unique. I have the ability to speak to others and inspire others in a way that communicates easily and people can understand a concept that might be very deep, right? So I have that ability, and that's one of my gifts, okay? And I use that gift when I do this class. I use that gift when I speak to my clients and I teach them what we're going to do about their homes. So all of these talents that I have and these gifts that I believe are God-given and happen to embody in me, I put to use in giving. And when I do this, I receive tenfold. I can't even begin to tell you how much abundance I experience in my life and have exponentially, let me put it this way, expanded in that simply because I know that I am in complete alignment. When I get up in the morning on a Sunday, I'm in just ecstatic. And that feeling, it goes beyond anything that could be returned to me financially. I don't know how to explain it, but that's the way I feel. And that's the way we all need to feel. I want you all to get up in the morning and be like completely in line with your gifts and talents in service of others, in the gift of giving. Because I want you to know something. The way this law works, and it is a law, okay? When you get in that flow, guys, you cannot, there's no way that the abundance doesn't come in. It's an impossibility. That's how sure, it's a sure thing. You know what a sure thing is? That it's a sure thing. So how do we get stuck in a lack of flow when it comes to giving and receiving? Let me explain. Sometimes we'll give a gift of with some kind of intention behind it. And this happens a lot with parenting, you know what I mean? It's like, if you do this for me, if you put away all your things from your school and you do your homework, then we're going to be able to go out and play, right? And we do this as parents all the time, you know? So what is the purity of that intention? You want something back, right? Because you believe that if you give it without wanting something back, they're going to take advantage of you. Is that pure? Is there purity in that intention? Is there real unadulterated love in that intention? No. And our parents did this to us all the time. So we, you know, how many times did you get guilted into something? Right? The guilt is one of our favorite Cuban, you know, Cuban and Jewish. That's like the best. They're the best at guilting you into something, right? So guess what? that energy of guilt comes with guilt. It comes, whatever comes back comes the same way. Right? So we learned this very early on as children, that every gift had something attached to it. Okay? I need you all to get to a place where you release that pattern. You need to release the pattern that was ingrained to you when you were kids. In business, we do this a lot, right? We write up a contract, a proposal, and there's expectations on either side. I'm giving you this so that you can give me that. As an employer and an employee, we give you a salary or whatever, and you give us productivity. And if there's an out of balance, right? If the seesaw, let's say the seesaw of giving and receiving is out of balance, what happens? There's an issue. You get fired, you get reprimanded, you don't get paid, whatever, correct? But we do not want our life of giving and receiving to be at a transactional level, right? We need to be in total grace the way that God gives through nature and through everything. Is there really a lack on this planet in nature? Like, do trees not give enough food? Is there really a lack? No, we create the lack. So when we give with an intention, underlying intention that is not pure, we cannot expect to receive in return with that same purity. Does that make sense? Okay. But we do this unconsciously. What I want you to understand is that sometimes we'll do this without even really being in touch with that within ourselves. So when we give something, and it can be, and giving gifts doesn't have to be gifts of money or gifts of an actual physical objects. I mean, I have to say, just a smile to someone you meet in the grocery store, just like, hi, how are you? Just a smile, a good morning, is a gift, by the way. That is a gift. It comes with energy. Okay. So when we give something with no expectation of something in return, that is the purity that I'm talking about. Now, oftentimes we also have the issue of receiving, right? How many of you maybe have a hard time, like when somebody compliments you, you get all like, am I supposed to say something now? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And we don't just like receive it and say, thank you. Just thank you. That's also cutting the flow. Or we're at lunch and, somebody decides to take the bill because they want to, right? And you go, no, you can't do that. And then we get into this like, no, I mean, we're going to share this. And because all of a sudden we feel that there's a transaction going on that is out of balance. And that now all of a sudden we're going to owe something, a favor. Okay. This happens a lot as well. So we have to get good at releasing, because when we do that, when we release that need to reciprocate, we can reciprocate in different ways. And we have to trust that there's going to be a reciprocal action coming back to us that sometimes comes from a completely different place. And this is what I have felt in my life, I think, for the past 2 years. For the past 2 years, I feel, in fact, I'm kind of like gotten to a place where all I do is like, okay, how can I serve more? How can I do more? The more I do for others without any expectation of return, the more abundance has come into my life. I mean, I really am in awe of it. It blows my mind. Now, my mom's not on the call today, but this is coming from a family that had ingrained in them this kind of like lack mentality because, you know, obviously everything was taken away and there was a degree of trauma there in our family history. And a lot of us that immigrated have that in the underlying sense in the back of our minds somewhere. It says, oh my God, someone's going to take everything away from us. And we're going to have to start from scratch. And by the way, that has happened in my life several times. I've had to start from scratch a few times in my life. And I'm amazed at how, you know, have you ever taken a tree and, you know, just like pruned it back, like chop it up. And then all of a sudden, these little leaves start popping out and it becomes like, oh my God, it's like, I just cut you. What's going on, right? That's exactly how I feel about the reciprocity of giving and receiving. So I want you to vow today that you're not going to do anything for someone if you want something back. You think you can do that? You think you can vow that? That's a pretty big vow, okay? That includes your children. You're not going to guilt them, okay? You're not going to make them feel bad if they don't do something, unless you're willing to express that expectation directly, okay? You have to be able to say that. You have to be able to say, I expect this to be done. You understand? These are my expectations, and I'm letting you know really clearly. I'm not going to keep that to myself. I'm going to give you this allowance. Okay, let's talk money. I'm going to give you this allowance, but I expect you to use that allowance responsibly in important things for yourself. Or you can say, I'm giving you this allowance without any expectation whatsoever. Spend it on whatever the hell you want. Can you do that? How many times do we do that, right? We say, you spent it on that stupid sticker? What's wrong with you? That's so, you know, right? We do this. So that is not giving purely. And I'm using that silly example because we are unaware that we do this. Or sometimes maybe we're in a meeting, right? Let's say we're in a meeting and that meeting has gone like way too long. And you're like, oh my God, am I really making money on this? I've met with this person. Leslie, let's talk business. I've met with this person 4 times about the same drapery. Okay. Yes, the hem is 6 inches. Okay. Yes, the baton is 12. You need it 12 inches. Okay, 12 inches longer. How much do you really need that? You changed your mind again about the fabric? Come on. Like, really? Okay. So, see? So what if you change that energy to, okay, whatever it takes, I'm in this with love. Whatever it takes, I'm in this with love. And if it's not working for you, you can straight on, because this is what we don't do. We get into resentment, right? We can straight on say, okay, this is our last meeting. And if you can't make up your mind about this, then we're going to have to talk about either an additional service or maybe I'm not the right fit for you. You see what I mean? If we are able to say things, and I'm using this as an example in business, because if we're able to speak our truth, it loses the energy of negativity that comes from resentment, guilt, and blocking the flow of abundance. Does that make sense to you guys? You see? So this is what I mean about speaking directly without creating these expectations in your mind that we don't say. And this happens with our significant others too, right? It's like, I expected that he would come, you know, and do this for me, you know? And he didn't take out the trash. Now look at this. Now the trash is there and I have to take out the trash. And why do we, and all this is going through our heads. And then we start building up inside of ourselves, and that cuts the flow of giving and receiving. Okay. So I did the laundry today, and you should have picked up the trash to throw it out. What if you just did the laundry because you love them? Is that possible? Could we do the laundry because we love them? I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Without doing the laundry with resentfulness, right? It's like, why is it that I'm the only one that picks up the stuff from the dishes? Why do I have to put away the dishwasher? Can anybody else put away the dishwasher? What if we just put away the dishwasher because it's just the right thing to do and it just feels good? Unless we sit down with our kids and say, okay, listen, your task, your responsibility is to put away the dishwasher. I do the laundry, you put away the dishwasher. You got this? I'm not going to talk about it again. Right? That's the way we have to get out of that weirdness that comes with giving and receiving. Okay. So giving should not be, get this, viewed as a duty. Never. Giving is not a duty. Okay. It cannot be coerced or become a transaction. Now I'm going to give you another one. Okay. Self-care. Did I say self-care? Self-care is giving. Okay. So giving to yourself, because this is a classic woman thing. Okay. The last person we give to is ourselves. Self-care is giving too. And so if you want to have more health, what do you have to do? You have to give more health. If you want more health, you need to give more health. So how do you give more health? You take care of what you eat. You exercise, drink water, something I need to work on. These things are also giving, so that then you receive good health. Okay. And when we're out of balance, it shows. It shows on our bodies. It shows on our faces. Overall, we don't feel well when we forget to self-care. We know it. When we get out of balance, man, we can tell. And everybody can tell around us too. So when we are in our best self, because we've taken care of ourselves, we can give in a much better way to others, right? To our families, to our friends. So that is an incredibly important thing to note about giving. We forget that giving to ourselves is a gift. And it's an act of love, by the way. It is an act of love. Okay, so with that, so you want to also receive. When you receive, you want to receive without guilt. So I want you guys this week to practice giving and receiving. Be conscious of everything you give and be conscious of everything you receive, even if it's a smile. When someone smiles at you, pay attention and give a smile in return. Okay? Be in a state of appreciation and gratitude. So the 3 steps for successful giving and receiving in this law of reciprocity are to give regularly, consciously, give. Anything you can give is a gift. And it doesn't have to be money at all. It doesn't have to be a physical gift. Number 2 is receive without expectation and guilt. You have to receive without guilt or expectation. And lastly, number 3 is to be in full appreciation and gratitude, because that is the language of abundance. The language of abundance is appreciation and gratitude. In fact, that's my biggest marker of people that I want to work with. If a person comes to me that they may not be, it may not be the fanciest project, okay? It may not be anyone that I'm going to publish. It may be whatever it is. And they are in true appreciation and gratitude of my abilities, talents, gifts, and service. You know, that's it. They've got me. They've got me. I can't say no. That's happened to me so many times, and I'm like, okay, what can I do? I got to do it. I got to help them, right? Because that's just my nature. I do this as a business and for the money only because I take care of others and I employ people and I do that. But the truth is that I love what I do. You know, you know me, I'll go to your house and I'll move your furniture. It's very hard for me to control myself because I love to give with my abilities and gifts and talents. So if someone comes to me with the gift of appreciation, that's it. You're my client. You know, now, in reverse, if they show lack of appreciation and gratitude, that's when we get into trouble. I'm telling you, that's when we get into trouble. Because the minute that they show that, I'm like, oh, this is just not going to work. Right? How many times have you had that happen? You know, that someone starts showing that they don't appreciate what you've done, or they forget. You know, I've said in my office a million times, you know, you're only as good as your last mistake. You might have done 30 things that were perfection. Everything went smoothly. But when you make that mistake, that's the one they remember. Right? And that hurts because it's almost like all the good stuff was wiped away. And I think our children feel that too. You know, I did my homework every single day. Today I forgot. And how could you forget your homework? You know, I got A's the entire class, and one day I got an F. Right? So that's what happens to us a lot, because we've been trained to focus on the negative. And what we focus on expands, right? That is another law. What we focus on expands. So what would you rather be focusing on? What you don't have, or how much you have? If we focus on all that we have in abundance, that is an expression of gratitude and appreciation, and that gets returned to us tenfold. So when we wake up in the morning, we say, what a beautiful house. Look at this. I have an amazing roof over my head. I have air conditioning in August in Miami. Wow. Don't we appreciate it when our AC goes under? Like, we're like, oh, I can't believe this. I don't know how people survived before. Right? My husband talks about when he really wants to guilt our kids, he talks about what the first cars that he had that never had AC. And they never had zip down windows. You know, they had roll down windows. Were you got, oh God, I'm aging myself really big time. Right? Talk about appreciation, right? We go, and it goes down. My husband grew up with a, when he was
So did I, by the way, so not too long ago.
Right? Like we how quickly we forget to appreciate the little things, right? How quickly. Just air conditioning, man. I'm telling you, what a blessing. All right. So remember that the word currency, and this goes down to money, the word currency, think of it as a current. Okay? And it's in Latin, it means to flow. So when you think of money, think of a current, and you don't want it stagnant. So if you move money, like you spend it and you bring it back, now, of course, you want to have balance. We cannot get out of balance. We can't go on a shopping spree and spend all our grocery money. No. But we do want to have expense and receive. That's why hoarding, like how many of you have watched people that hoard things, right? And we look at them with like, oh my God, that's such stagnant energy, right? Stagnant energy. We don't want to stagnate our flow of energy and our currency. So if you hoard your money and you don't spend it, you can't expect to receive it back in kind. Remember that. Okay? So money is kept alive through action and circulation. It has an energy force. Treasure, by the way, treasure, what is the word treasure? Treasure only serves humanity if it serves a purpose. If you have a chest of money, like the old days, the pirates, the pirate chest, and it only serves you, then it is not in flow. And the intention of that is the same as hoarding. It must be in circulation. Okay? So remember that when you focus on only saving and not spending appropriately, you're out of balance. And again, the goal always in our lives is to stay in alignment and balance. So the first things that I discussed was the energy force of your purpose and how you can best serve. Remember the statement that I've taught you guys, that I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth, and I know how I serve in truth. Okay? How do you best serve? Does anybody want to share? Do they know exactly what their gifts and talents are? Anybody want to tell me? I shared mine. This is exactly what I mean by giving of ourselves with self-worth and love. That's why giving to ourselves is an act of love. And when we do that, we can expect to receive love in return. You understand? So you give of your patience, Lily, and you receive in return love and kindness. Okay? That's exactly the example that I'm setting. So you see how you found your way to use your gifts and talents in your career, so you're on your right path. You see what I mean? And
Yeah.
just honor that for a minute. You know, guys, when you find your way to use your gifts and your talents with helping others and serving others, that's what's called I'm on my purpose. You get it? Like we get all bent out of shape with this purpose thing. Like, find your purpose, right? Like everybody wants to find their purpose, but sometimes it's so simple. It's like I make people laugh, right? I make people laugh. I listen to others. Those are the two things that I've just heard. That's why for me, when I discovered, that my purpose was actually deeper than just being an interior designer, it was a big aha moment for me. Because then all of a sudden, not to mention that I was told that I was a teacher and I was in complete denial. Complete. Like I was like, what do you mean? I'm not. Guess what? I am. And that was the ultimate purpose that I was told by the angels. And I'm like, at that time, which was, like 10 years ago, at that time, it didn't click, right? It didn't connect. I was still, it's kind of like when you're searching for something and it's right in front of you, right? How many times has that happened? You pass by it. Where's my phone? Where's my phone? Where's my phone? And it's right there. That's the same thing. I felt like I'm searching, and yet here it is right in front of my face. So sometimes we don't get that it's enough to just be a great listener. But it is. We are always enough. And guess what? That uniqueness in the way that we make people laugh can only be done by Leo. It's her way, right? So think about where you are today. Every day, do you serve others with your unique gifts and talents? Because if you feel great about that, you will receive in abundance. Prosperity will always be yours. It is when we get caught up in thinking we're supposed to do something else in a different way with some other way, or we start comparing ourselves to someone else that does it in a different way and they do it better than you do, right? That's when we get all tangled up in a web. That's when we get our panties in a twist, when we start like looking at things in the wrong way. And we don't understand that it's enough to be as we are, authentically ourselves. This is the beauty of giving and receiving. Give with abundance of your gifts. Don't hold back. Don't hold back. The more you give with this purposeful blessing, this gift that only you have, okay, the more you will receive. It's a law. It's a truth. Unbendable. Because that is what grace is. Grace is when we receive the bounty of God's blessings without having to deserve them, without having done anything to deserve them. We have the bounty of the air that we breathe in abundance, without necessarily having done anything to produce it. It just is, right? And we can expect it. That is grace. It's our own humanities and ego that get caught in, I have to do this in order to receive that, right? And when we use the word have to, that's when we get messed up. The word have to has to be wiped out from your mentality. You need to get up in the morning and say, I choose to. I want to. I love to. That's the way you have to expand your attitude of gratitude. Ooh, I like that. Your attitude of gratitude. Okay. This is where you must live. That's the space of abundance and prosperity. It's really beautiful to see you come into your own. And that's actually the beauty of being able to witness everybody and have years of experience with all of you, that I get to see the expansion of all of us. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. And each of us coming together to help each other and help others in turn is exponential. And I've always said this, the stronger we become in our own self-love and self-care, and the more we give to ourselves in being able to say, I have many gifts and talents. And that's what we have to be able to say without arrogance, without ego. There's a degree, there's humility, and then there's acceptance of who you are and authenticity. When we come into the world with our authentic self, I feel like my life has changed for the better in millions of ways. And it just encourages me to figure out how to do more. That's what I do. Okay, so let's do another retreat. Let's put this together. I find that the more I commit to something that expands me and include others in that realm, the more time somehow shows up. Does that make sense? I don't even know how that works. I was always worried about not having enough time to do things. That was my biggest thing, actually. I'm the opposite of what Lily said. I was the most impatient girl on the planet. Here's my sister as a witness. Okay. I wanted to get it all done at the same time as quickly as possible because I was going to run out of time. Right.
That's right.
Okay. So now I feel the opposite. I feel that the more I insert and commit to in service of others, the more time I have to do more. It's really strange, but it works that way. And this is what I mean about the way the universe works. Don't try and figure it out. Release it, surrender it to God. Don't try and figure it out, girls. If you try and figure it out, you're holding yourself back. Just do what you do best. Now, I want to hear from one more person. I want to hear Maribel's gifts and talents. So when you were able to use your gifts and talents, which is your purpose, right, in your job, you were happy. And then guess what? You were abundant too, because you were able to buy your house, remodel your house, own a beautiful car, go places, buy really beautiful clothes. So guess what? When you are on your purpose, expressing your gifts and talents, which is connecting people, serving them, helping them, putting people together, organizing them, being a good leader of others, whenever you're able to do that in your job, you are happy and abundant. So it's pretty obvious to me that the only thing, you haven't lost your way, you've just found the wrong place to express it. Well, at some point you're going to find that phone that's right in front of your face. So it's there. You just have to have the courage, which comes from heart, by the way, coraje, corazón, courage, to make a change for yourself. That's what you have to find the courage. Right. It's always scary, Sometimes the only way that we do those things is when we have no choice, right? Somebody pulls the rug out from under us. So we have to, it's kind of like jump off the plane and hope you have a parachute, because that's
that it opens.
That it opens. Yeah, that it feels like it's not going to open, but but it does. It does. And that's where that belief that it's going, that trust in God is really the biggest issue here. not even in yourself, by the way, not even in yourself, trusting in a higher being,
Yes.
trusting that that you deserve to be taken care of. The trust factor has to be there. You have to get out of your own way.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I've never been let down whenever I've jumped off the plane. Okay.
I know, but
you haven't either. And by the way, you haven't either. Okay. Because if you write down how many times in your life something has happened that you've been saved, I bet you would surprise yourself. How many times have you been saved by something, by miracle? Okay. So you have to look back and think of, instead of looking back at a negative, remember what we focus on expands.
exactly.
Think of all the times that something miraculous has happened and wow, look at that. How did it happen? So that's what you need to focus on. Use your talents and gifts today, in any way you can. Not in, because it's almost like you're trying to make it. Use your talents and gifts daily in whatever way you can. And by giving that, what this lesson is today about giving and receiving, guys, is that it's really very simple. Give. Just give. Just give. Give of your time. Give of your smiles.
Yeah.
Write a little note to somebody. Do anything you can to give. Okay. And then when you do that without any expectation whatsoever, the law says that it will be returned. That's it. It's super simple. This is the essence of what I wanted to teach today. I wanted it to be conscious versus unconscious. Just be conscious of your giving and ask yourself, when you give, do I have any expectation? Is it transactional? Am I being coerced? And we use this in our language. We've talked about language, right? How many times do we say, I have to go to this meeting? We don't have to go to anything. We want to. We want to go to this meeting with our best gifts and talents. That's it. Use your gifts and talents. It's like Lily says, you'll never know when she needs to go somewhere because she's going to sit there and listen to what you have to say patiently because that's her gift. You see? So she may be like, oh shit, I'm running out of time. I gotta get the kids. But she's never gonna let you know. She's gonna be there with a beautiful smile, that angelic face that she has. She's gonna be there saying, ah, yes, tell me about your story. Because that's who she is. You understand? And if you do that with love, pure love, your whole heart, just go out there and love everybody, then you're gonna get that in return. And then guess what? You're gonna have an added bonus. The added bonus is that you're going to receive abundance. This is the lesson, and that's why this was the extension of my class on abundance and karma. To learn how to give and to learn how to receive is a blessing and an art. What you focus on expands. Expand on your blessings. It's not so complicated. We make it more complicated than it has to be. And the reason we do that, by the way, is because we compare ourselves to others. We have this incredible little device here that is constantly showing us what other people's lives are doing. Okay. And don't do that. Just don't. Don't compare yourself to others. Just use your own heart as your reference point. If it feels good, do it. And sometimes it just feels good to give somebody your parking space. It's like, go ahead, take it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're in a hurry. Go. You must be having something to do. Instead of saying like, what the fuck are you doing? You're taking my space. No, say, go, do it. Hey, be happy. You know what I mean? And sometimes that'll happen to us. Sometimes we'll be in a rage and somebody will give us their parking space. Not in Coral Gables, by the way, because you're never going to get one. Miami special. So This week, I want you to be very aware of your giving. And I want you to be very aware of your receiving, because I want you to get into the flow of the current of giving and receiving. Okay? And I want you to focus your attention on anyone that needs a gift of time, that needs a gift of patience, that needs a gift of love. A hug is always a very good thing. That needs a smile, that needs a note, that needs a dollar bill. Any one of those things, give them in abundance. And if you want to really knock yourself out, give more. Okay? And see what happens. I guarantee you, you will be amazed at what will come back to you in return. I, for one, feel in total gratitude of the gift of having all of you in my lives daily, because I get to see you on Sundays and I get to hear you talk to each other in this beautiful community that we've created. It is beyond me that this was possible. And I'm such gratitude of Deborah for having pushed me out of the plane without a parachute. I still have to remind her to put the link on every once in a while, but it's okay. Bless you. Namaste. Go give your gifts away. The world needs them. Okay? Many blessings.